This is the KennyM show. Hi, this is KennyM. Welcome to this week for another edition. I'm glad you made it again this week to listen to something good. As I say every time, maybe listening to these videos would give you that experience to leverage on to help someone out there. I said this week was going to be fun. Yes. Right, before we go into this week's chat, there's one thing I remember my mum used to tell us when we were kids. It says, you're a little kid now, you'll understand when you grow up. And we basically took that with us all over the years up until now. Certain things are beginning to be clear now that we're getting older, or I'm still young, I would say. And whilst you're growing, you get to understand certain things better, unlike when you were a little kid. And our mum used to say that all the time. It says, yeah, you don't understand now because you're a little kid, but you will understand as you grow older. And I just want to pass that on to you. Maybe you are in a situation right now, you may not necessarily understand why, but don't think that is the end, or don't settle for less. Keep on pushing and you will understand better as you grow older. So that's for you to think about, and then hopefully I'll bring you something else next week. But let's dive into our chat today. I started touching on the 7Ds. I went from the dream section, the desire, and I think I touched on decision last week. But I want us to go from beginning. Let's talk about the dreams. And basically, I picked this up when I was reading the Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill, and it's a phase and a process. And comparing it with, I'm a chartered surveyor, so I do construction and building stuff, and comparing it with the process normal building structure goes through, it's made me understand it much better. And I think I'm going to pick it from that angle, and you'll appreciate it as well. And so going through the 7Ds, I'm not going to pick up all on the 7Ds today because it's massive. You probably take us the whole day to actually go through. I'm going to pick up on that dream section to understand exactly what we mean by the dream section. So let's take a normal standard building, for example. Everybody is in a habitation as I speak now. So you are either sleeping in your own home, you're sleeping in a rented home, you're sleeping in a home given to you by your parents or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You're in a house, and before that house actually goes up into the current position, it goes through phases. Or before that building, let's take a building, yeah. Before the building actually goes up, it goes through phases. So we take the process of a construction, and when I talk about the team of the construction, it entails a lot, from whoever starts to put the brief onto the paper, and then it goes through the engineering side and the quantity surveying side, which is where I am, and then it goes onto the ground, and engineers puts it in there, and you have the builders in there, they excavate the ground, put all the stuff in there. That is the whole process. But I want us to concentrate on the beginning. So the idea will come into somebody's head to want to start a project, and they don't just get up and start the project. It goes through a phase, and the phase is all captured in that 7Ds, which is what I want us to go through for you to actually appreciate how you can really think and make a change in your life. So you take it from the beginning, which is the brief. And the brief, as we explain in construction, is the idea or the plan in the employer being the client's head as to what they want to do. So if I have a land, say I purchase a land and I want to start building a house, I will have a plan in my head. I say, oh, my plan, I want a three bed, I want a kitchen, I want a utility room, I want a living room, I want this, I want that. And that is in the client's head. So what they end up doing is they start think about this. It might be, say, a family. So they'll start thinking about this and say, oh, what do you want? They say, okay, we're going to have 3 kids. So let's have 4 bedrooms. We can use one one for us and then 3 for the children. And I said, no, let's do 5 bedrooms. We'll give 3 to the kids, and then we'll do one a guest room, and then we can have one as the parents' room. So you'd be going through all this in your head, and then once you settle on the fact that I want to build, you need to consult. So you're going to consult your architect, and that is another step in the 7Ds. So rather than we pushing too quick, I want us to come back into the dream side, which is the inception of every of everything. Basically is stats. That is the start of everything in life, the dreaming, the idea. So you're sitting there thinking, I've got a land. Or even before you purchase the land, you can go one step back. Why are you going to purchase the land? Because you have a dream to build a house. So you haven't consulted your architect yet. You haven't consulted your engineer yet. You have a dream to build a house. And what do? You go seek the land. The land is another step, as I said, is another step in the 7D. But so we go before the land, and the thought will just come into your mind. Oh, you want to build. Why do you want to build? Is it because you've got too much money? Or is it because you want to put an inheritance down for your children? That is all part of the dreaming bit, of the idea bit. So before you even consult your architect, well, in my 15 years in the industry, I have never ever seen a construction that is done without a plan. You don't just get up and say, well, I'm going to construct this house, I'm going to construct this structure, without a plan. You have to have a plan. And you don't just get up. Some of you, yeah, if you're an architect, you can draw. If you're a draftsman, you can draw. If you're a designer, you can draw. But if you're going through the normal process of construction, you've got to go through the desired or the requirements. You can't just get up and you could design yourself if you're certified enough to design and stamp on it. But before you actually put what you're thinking in your head on paper, that is what the architect calls it, the brief. So you'd meet up with your architect, and then what do? They pick up everything that you're telling them. I want a 3-bed this, I want 1-story building, I want 2-story building, I want a basement, I want a car park, I want a garage, I want this, I want that and that. And then what you've relayed from your head to the architect is what we call the brief. And this brief is what the architect is going to use to create the first idea of whatever you've got in your head. If you're skilled enough, you might come up with a sketch to say, this is what I want. And then the architect will basically take it away and develop it. But even before it actually gets onto the ground, it goes through a lot of phases. You got to go through your appraisal, see how much is that going to cost you. You got to go visit the land to see what the land has, whether the rocks in there, it's a green field, is good enough to actually do any construction on, or whether you need piles to go into the ground or whatever. You need to understand where the land is. That is way along the line and not at the beginning. So you're taking the beginning. We're talking about the dream today. That is the first thing that comes into your mind, that I want to build a structure, I want to build a house, I want to build this, I want to build that. When that comes, you don't just leave it there. You need to go through the 7Ds. So my point to you today is, when you have that idea, when you have that thought, when you have that thing that gets into your mind to say, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor, I want to build a house, I want to do this, I want to do that. Don't push that away, because that is step one. That is the beginning of the dream. The dream is, I'm using the dream in this aspect as that is the beginning of the end thing you want to achieve. That is your sole goal. So you will have the idea, and no matter the size of it, some of you might be scared, or some of us might be scared of the thought that comes into. I'll just be sitting there thinking, I want to build a 35-floor skyscraper. And then straight away I dive into, how am I going to do that? I haven't got the money. I haven't got the land. I haven't got this. I haven't got that. I haven't got that. And then I brush that aside. No. If you have the dream, if I have the dream that I want to build a 35 floor skyscraper, that is my idea. That is my dream. That is the thing that came into my mind. I don't just brush it off. Why don't I just walk it through the 7Ds? By the end of the series, you'll understand what all the 7Ds are. But why don't I walk it through those 7 phases? By the time I get to the 7th D, will it be feasible to build? Of course it will. Of course, absolutely. Of course it will. So when the dream comes, you don't push it away. When the dream comes, you don't scare it off. When the dream comes, let it stay in your head. You know, we've gone through a lot of phases. I remember my situation before. Tell you the story. So when we came over here in England, just jumped straight into working straight after uni. We came over, and it was all about working. And I remember at the time, a number of my friends had jumped into education, so they were upskilling themselves in doing the master's program and stuff. At the time, honestly, this is me talking, it was all about work along the line. And then my mind changed. Then I enrolled into a master's program. Not necessarily because my friends or people around me were doing it, but because my mindset at the time had shifted that, okay, I'm ready now, I want to do it. And I didn't just get up and do it. I thought of it, looked around, found a university, put an application in. Everything is a process. You know, I did not just get up and go straight to the university to say, yeah, I'm ready, I'm doing it now. No, you had to go through a process. So, which is all part of your 7Ds, you know. And the process was, yes, I am ready to do my master's. Yes, I need to look at the next stage. What do I want to do? Do I carry on doing quantity surveying? Yes, I want to carry on doing quantity surveying. What best schools are out there that can assist me to do this program? And then I look around, I found the best school, applied, got admitted, and then so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the idea came. So looking at you now, you might be in a situation, you might be in a position now, maybe you want to progress, you know, you want to go up. You don't just sit where you are, because if you remain where you are, you're going to remain where you are. Doesn't make sense, does it? If you remain where you are going to remain where you are. But if you're not happy where you are, you've got to lift one notch up and see where that can take you. So at the end of the day, the idea would come to say, right, I'm fed up with doing what I'm doing now. Let me try something else. Let me do something else. Let me move ahead and do something else. And then that is the idea, which is your dream. Don't brush it off. The plan for you today is when the idea comes, you do not brush it off. You need to write it down, and then you follow through to the second phase. When the idea comes, you do not brush it off. You need to write it down, and then you follow through the second phase. I hope I've blessed you today with this D, which is the dream, and start thinking, you know, go outside the box. Sometimes the D might not necessarily come from you. You might be watching TV, you might get the D on the TV, you might be having a conversation with a relative, you might be having a conversation with a friend, you will get the D from them. It doesn't have to come from you. It could come from your environment. It could come from somewhere. You could get the idea when you're reading a book. You could get the idea when you're speaking to somebody, as I said earlier on. But when it comes, it is an idea. Push it into the dream section, and then allow it to go to the second stage, which we're going to talk about next week. So the homework is, when the idea comes, don't push it away. Do something with it. When the idea comes, Do not push it away. Do something with it and write it down. And hopefully by the end of the 7 days, it is going to bless you. So take it easy. Stay put, stay blessed. And I will come your way again next week with the second D. Take care. Bye.
This is the KennyM Show.